What's crackin', Elestrals Nation? Welcome. You know, I made a joke in our last tier list that we didn't have a tier list for the Firestorm metagame, and we corrected that. We are actively correcting that. Welcome to the every deck tier list. Josh has put some painstaking effort into literally, this is every deck. If you tell me there's a deck in here that isn't, and you're lying. Every deck's there.
Yeah, we have 119 decks, I think, here. 119. Some of them may have never even seen tournament play, but I know that I've played them, so they're on here.
Yeah, and so I hope you all are ready. This is the perfect opportunity to get all snuggled up, get a bucket of popcorn or something, or slap in some headphones, some AirPods, go to the gym, get working, start driving your UPS truck. I'm looking at you, Sonny. Just go ahead, lock in with us for a little while because we're here to talk about Firestorm, the metagame as a whole, and also just talk through a bunch of different decks because there's a lot of really cool stuff out there to talk about. And Josh, you've got some really cool stuff I can already see out that right here.
I guess before we even go into some stuff, first off, apologies for not getting a Firestorm like an official tier list out for a bit. I think though that it's nice that we've had about a month to kind of let things settle, figure out what's actually good within the Firestorm metagame. We have like a whole month of stuff to prep for in July, before like the August premiere. I know we have like the Atlanta stuff coming up, but I think that we've kind of established what is meta, what is good, what are decks that are going to perform well at your locals, etc. And I think we should go ahead and start off with what won the first tournament. I'm not giving myself a shout out or anything, but that's Blizzix.
No way?
Yeah, I know, right? No, what do you think that this is at? Obviously, like, I had success with this. Wow, this is lagging bad. There we go. I'm going to put this in Will Top, obviously, because it won, but it's only had one top. So, how do we feel about this? I'm personally a big fan. I think it has kind of fallen off in power since that first premiere, but what are your thoughts on the high roll strat?
I think that, first of all, I don't think it's as high rolly as a lot of people might think it is, because basically every card in the deck is just meant to get giant dudes on the board. And if your entire deck is built to do that, is it really high rolly? Secondly, I think that the deck mostly fell off just because like it's not a new little toy for us to play with. Like this is a fairly known quantity at this point, and people see it as a high roll deck, and they see it as something that you can side really well for. But I think the reality is that this deck is ridiculous, and if more people were taking it, more consistent players were taking it, we'd see this just shredding tournaments most likely.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there was a tournament in the Pit, which is like that like private tournament server, and JJPM took down a sheet tournament with Blizz. Just a quick 4-rounder, went undefeated. It did its thing again.
I have part of it in front of me, but I have had Blizzix sleeved and ready to play at locals since you topped with it actually, and I just haven't gotten around to cracking it out because we've had a bunch of other things going on at locals.
Yeah,
been trying out other formats to diversify things a little bit, but at all times I've got my little concealed blade ready to top something, kill everybody, say all right, here's my 8, deal with it.
I wonder if there's like a lot of new toys, or like the new toy syndrome, right? Where like a new set comes out and we forget about all the things that we left in our toy chest, the Blizzixes, the Antitans, all of those, and if they would actually be good in this metagame. And obviously we're going to get to that with 119 different decks, what old toys are still good. It does make me wonder what is being neglected that could potentially be a top deck that just isn't seeing representation because, again, not a new toy.
I do think there's an aspect of people are tired of this deck. They have been tired of it for some time, and that's why it stopped seeing representation. That's something that we saw in the Moonrise metagame as well. Like, Lunar aggro kind of fell off towards the end of the metagame, and I don't think that's because it wasn't a good deck. I think it's because people were tired of playing it and tired of playing versus it. There's the two ends of the spectrum. There's the new toy syndrome, and there's the I don't want to play with you anymore spectrum.
Yeah.
And they kind of tend to overlap.
I think there's also something to be said about Rise going to 1, so people kind of wrote the deck off because it doesn't have like that explosive rune to pop off with.
I made the deck better. You don't have to play bad cards anymore.
True. Now let's talk about some of the other like really big meta contenders for the format. We already talked about Blizzix being a winner. Let's talk about Draking. This has kind of been a new kid on the block, although out since basically Daybreak. Taking down the second Premier by Sir Tractor. I think that obviously we have to put this in the Will top because, again, it won. It also topped, I think, the first Premier of Firestorm with Spicy Sausage.
It got fourth.
Yeah.
Top 4.
So,
sure.
2 people have brought this deck, and it's won and gotten top 4.
It's crazy how much this deck was benefited by the Werepup Lycavoid stuff.
Yep.
But generally, it does just have like very good tools. And the fact that everyone else is also on Werepup Lycavoid means that Draking also benefits from that.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot, I think, here that makes Draking really well positioned. But again, this is something we've said for quite some time. Draking is a kind of deck where once you start preparing for it, it becomes a lot less potent. I just don't know if people are actually preparing for it meaningfully.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to justify preparing for Draking when there's only like maybe one person in the room playing it at a time. Like, if it was a bigger known quantity, exactly. But like, if it was a more known quantity, like Blizzix and Dallas, where like a quarter of the room was on the deck, you can justify cards in your side for it. But if one person's on it, like, what are you gonna do? To
the point of things that people maybe are preparing for, but maybe isn't actually seeing a whole lot of representation. I feel like Bears is a really solid thing to talk about here because, from what I remember, it had really, really solid representation in the first tournament. It's had middling representation since, and I feel like it's kind of falling off as a dedicated deck, and people are more starting to look towards the Den Turbo style of the deck. That's something we talked about a lot in the Firestorm Set Championship video, which if you haven't seen already, you should go ahead and check out. Sort of just looking at pure Bears, where do we think this lines up? You know, Josh, I'm going to defer to you as the resident bear enjoyer here. Happy Pride. Well, not anymore, but where do you think Bears lines up here?
So I'm going to be obviously very biased in terms of like the bear opinions here. I've been preaching that Bears is like the best deck for forever, and my opinion has not changed. I just haven't played the deck yet, but you will see that soon. I keep saying it's gonna happen. As soon as I get the test, I'm gonna play Bears. Personal opinions aside, based off of the data that we kind of have right now, I have to put Bears in can top until I release the bear deck, because data has shown otherwise, right? I can't put my personal opinions into the matter. I think obviously Den Turbo has been on the rise because Majursa is, for the lack of a better word, fucking crazy. Pure Bears, obviously, not super represented, hasn't done well at tournaments, but I think there's also just been a lot of really whack builds, which has kind of prevented this from being one of the dominant strategies in the metagame. I don't know. Mess around, get a little funky with it. Maybe throw a Thunder package in there. Maybe throw a Fart package in there. I don't know. Do something crazy. But Bears is really good. Just people need to stop playing Hestia.
Yes. Yeah, Bears is something I've actually been playing a lot at locals, and I've been playing a bunch of different variants of it. And I've been seeing a lot of success moving towards the Thunder Bears that we all know Josh came up with, invented. No one else came up with it. He's the one that came up with Thunder Bears. I've been seeing a lot of success with that, and I've got a new list that I want to try out because I've been tinkering with it a lot. It went from Bears to Thunder Bear Bomb, and now I want to kind of just go back to a mix of just Bears. We get throw in Zeus, you throw in the Argo stuff, Bear Bomb, what have you. Yeah. It will take the right cook making the right list that all comes together to make this deck just an absolute menace. But it'll take time to refine it, I think.
We can move on to something other like meta contenders and stuff too. Honestly, we might as well just talk about Den Turbo while we're already here. This is a deck that I think
right there at the bottom.
Yeah, will top.
Has
topped. I know like the Justin variant was really popular, piloted by Justin, Coder, and Swole at this previous premiere. Only one of them topped, but the other two did bubble at X2. This deck's scary. It's really good. I don't necessarily know if their variant is like the perfect way of playing Den, but it did get to experiment a lot with like brand new Ignector. It got to play Nog. It got to play the Cryoling Cryover and stuff. It's not a deck that you should have off your radar. It's something that you should be prepared for with Pandora's Boxes and Spoiled Fruits. If you're really scared about Majursa, there are some silver bullets to counteract the strategy. which kind of make it a little spooky. If people are prepared for it, it's not going to do super well. If people aren't prepared, it's going to steamroll. Obviously, a will top strategy. Still not, in my opinion, the best bear variant, but very cool nonetheless.
Actually, the Saturday of that premiere, I had locals I was going to. It's like, I'll slap together like a Frost, Bear, then Turbo type list. It went pretty well. It is just a crazy deck to be able to drop a giant mama bear out of nowhere that pops too. And my favorite part, since kind of pivoting around lists, is you can just fully side out of a bear package if you're playing just the Den Turbo like 7-card engine. Now your opponent, if you win game 1 with it, they side into Pandora's Box, Spoiled Fruit, whatever it is, to counteract your strategy, and you just say, you just sided in a bunch of dead cards versus me. And that's something that I did a good bit in the last locals I went to playing this list, and it felt very, very good having a game 1 win button, and then you say, all right, now I've sided it out, and I'm going to play a consistent game plan that assumes my opponent has missided for me, thus making all of my cards much more impactful and playing lower to the ground a lot more viable.
Yep, deck's sick. I don't think we really have to talk about it that much more. I think we've already talked about a couple other champion decks, but I think there's one other champion deck that we do need to talk about that got Cobalt Sanderson to Worlds, and that is Celestio Turbo. Obviously, I think that this deck took a very major hit with the Rise to the Ashes to 1. Do we still think that this deck is viable at all post-ban list?
In the Turbo variant, I gotta say, not at all. Like,
right.
That deck wholly revolved around having Rise from the Ashes. You look at that list, and without Rise from the Ashes, it doesn't do anything. There are 6 ways in deck to discard a Celestio, so I just think that list, unfortunately, doesn't work anymore. However, Celestio, I think, is still very playable. I feel like somewhere in here you surely have just Solar Nexus. I think that Celestio is a really good payoff for Solar Nexus whenever we end up getting to there.
Yeah, we have a bunch of different Solar variants, but like we have Foretell Solar too that could technically play Celestio if you want to do like the Leo Bright, Nebuleo shenanigans. We'll talk about those other variants when we get to them. They're way down the list. I think we should actually probably maybe we should speed up through these a little bit faster.
Maybe we should do a little bit of rapid fire, and then we can slow down for a couple.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and start doing some rapid fires. We got Apple Rise decks in general. Also, Never Sleeve with the Rise to the Ashes hit. Kind of dead. Let's do Boltuga Burn. This is shout out to my PK Sparks enjoyers. With Subatuga, go Cryo Scorch. This to me is a local legend deck. It's really cool. Obviously, Eruption is a super powerful card. I think specifically right now with how much fire is going around, Eruption sucks. Not good.
Yeah.
Not good. It's like a side deck card, and that Boltuga's obviously maining it. So, not the time to play it.
You can put Burn right next to that. A pure Burn deck, I think, is just not going to work out because Eruption is your main way of doing that. It's
not good. They're
tough to be a Eruption gamer these days.
Yeah, there's like a lot of Burn decks on this list. Some of them will definitely function more than like Pure Burn or Boltuga Burn for obvious reasons.
Wind Burn goes crazy.
Yeah, Wind Burn's crazy. Even Scorpion Burn, I think, has some merit.
Yeah.
We'll get to those eventually. Brontiglow, my swole believers, the Mushroom Giraffe Thunderstorm deck. I'm going to give this a lot more merit. I think it's going to bubble.
Really?
Yeah.
I believe that. I think there's a lot of stuff here that could bubble.
I think that if there's anything that the last premiere showed us is that just like a generically good Thunder pile will always be a step above a lot of other decks. This is not something that I think will top, but because of Titanostrike being able to search Thunderstorm really helps this deck out a ton.
Speaking of bubbling decks, I gotta shout out Caprafume here. My good friend Ren from the Orlando region bubbled with Caprafume. I think it was in the Moonrise metagame, but in Firestorm, this deck is way more viable. And so this is absolutely a deck that you can bubble with. Ren has sent me some lists since using the Hestia stuff. And this deck's just very cool. My buddy Julian, a.k.a. Bungus, a.k.a. Slop Shop, has been playing Fire Slop at locals, and I think Caprafume's in there. It's ridiculous.
I think someone might have bubbled with Caprafume already in Firestorm. I could be wrong.
It might have been Ren, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm fairly certain I saw like a 5-2 in like top 32. somewhere. So I don't know.
I believe it. I think this deck's solid.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's not a deck that I expected to do well at all, especially whenever this card was revealed back in like Frostfall.
That's true. That is very true.
Talking of like other Frostfall decks, we got Bubble Beat, which is just like water low to the ground beat down. This is a unfortunately a never sleeve deck. Bubbloon just doesn't do enough. Shout outs to new Bubbloon though. I think that card's very interesting. Curious to see
Horrifying card.
Curious to see if it like makes like other cards viable. Shout outs to Starbit. Shout outs to Supernova. Shout outs to Chronodile Enjoyers.
Oh my god.
There's like
stop talking.
There's like a bunch of things. Or shout out to Dratagua, like heal like 6. Like
Yup.
Water Stall, rejoice. It's here.
We're so bad. We're putting the stall back in heal stall control.
That's what I'm saying. Caleb, what deck you want to talk about next?
I want to hit up Barabog.
Yeah.
I think that card, I think this is a local legend-ass deck. However, it could bubble. I don't think that it should go in the bubble category, but I think that due to a drop-off in water decks and earth decks, earth primarily, no one's playing earth. Water is just Draking right now. I think that Barabog actually is a really good play into the wider metagame. This deck really, you could just play kind of like the Draking-like deck. You swap out all the Lunar stuff, you put Earth stuff in instead, and I think that that's still a very solid core. And you can just say, all right, out my big fuck. Good luck, you can't do it. You lose the game.
See, my only issue with that is like you say you can't out it, but Galaxy Champ is a card. So
See, this is
that kind of scares me a little.
However, I will simply just put up my stadium.
Surely. Now, Barabog's cool. Curious to see
cool.
if it ends up being good one day.
I hope
I want to
one
play
day it's good,
Barabib
'cause
so
he's
bad.
cool.
I want to play Barabib Mudslide, man. We were already on the Earth topic. Let's talk Earth Heal. Earth Heal got a brand new card in Pandasin. To potentially have a new heal deck, there's a lot of advantages to Pandasin. The fact that it can heal every single turn is kind of spooky, but we haven't seen a whole lot of experimentation with that card yet. I think there might have been one person that's played it so far, and they bubbled, but it wasn't like a dedicated heal deck. It was like the Cyprong, Sprouter, like 20 Earth Spirits variant.
Huh?
Oh, did you not see that?
No, I must have missed that.
Okay.
What the fuck?
No, that deck was sick. It was like literally pure Earth. It was just all Earth cards, 20 Earth Spirits, and they bubbled. It was insane. I apologize. I don't remember who it was. So I kind of want to put Earth Heal somewhere around the local legend bubble range. Probably local legend, just because people haven't been experimenting with it a ton. And it is a 2-card combo with Demeter, and we lost Elachik. As soon as we get a dedicated Demeter searcher for Earth Heal might kind of go crazy.
I've pulled up top Elestrals to try and find
to try and find the Earth deck.
I want to find this desperately. I have not been able to find whatever
it might have been about. Primary Artemis.
I'll keep doing some research in the background.
Okay.
I do think that Earth Heal, there's some merit to it. I think the issue is that Heal is just not well positioned into the current metagame. The place where Heal as a concept does really well is when your opponent is casting a guy a turn. You can interact and prevent your opponent from casting a guy a turn. That is where Heal is able to thrive. That is why it was so good in Moonrise, because there was no go wide strategy, and Werepup single-handedly ruins that for Heal. And I think that puts Earth Heal, which already was a very weak version of the Heal deck, at a very big disadvantage. I experimented with Earth variants of Heal in Moonrise and just never found it to be very good because there was no Earth Healer. But maybe it's worth revisiting because, especially if someone bubbled, I mean, I'm pulling up Primary Artemis. You got a Twitter? Let me see this.
I don't know if it was them. I'm guessing. I know it was in the Every Deck stream, and everybody was going crazy over it.
4/3 mono Earth.
4/3.
Captain Planet. This deck looks crazy. We're playing Prize Boar.
That's what I'm saying.
Damn. Okay. Well, maybe it's worth revisiting. Space. Hey, Wasp Ivy's in there. That Wasp Ivy in the side, go crazy.
I mean, that kind of wants me to put the EQ.deck in bubble. Like,
I mean, technically, it was right at the bubble. So I believe. I think that EQ deck very much could. I think that Earth is something that's being slept on broadly right now.
Yeah.
Because it just didn't get a whole lot in Firestorm. It's still a very good deck.
I mean, it got new Lycavoid, so that is something to not to scoff at. It's like the Dallas Earth Lunar deck got more powerful because of the existence of new Lycavoid. So.
Yep.
I think people are starting to revisit it. I think there were a couple in the last premiere that topped or like got top 16 with Earth Lunar. So it's coming back.
I think
it's
a lot of it was like Antitan.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Antitan and Bug Snacks, which we should go ahead.
Yeah, let's go and.
I think that those are fairly similar here.
Yeah, let's talk about those. Antitan, I think that this is a deck currently that can top. It's been really close the past few events. It hasn't broken into that top 8. We've seen variants of Hermes, Suppression, the Earth Lunar version of Antitan. There's like an Ignector version still running around. All of them, I think, have some merit, but I think that Antitan specifically needs a good metagame for it to thrive, where like Spiders is one of the best decks, which unfortunately I don't think it's going to happen. We'll talk about Spiders later.
No, never.
And then also Lycavoid needs to be everywhere. And even though I say Lycavoid needs to be everywhere because of like new champ spect, the second that your opponent knows that you're on Antitan, they don't cast any pups. And now you can't do the Specteris combo. There's a lot of issues with Antitan still, although a very powerful deck that got brand new support. I just don't know if it will ever breach into the will top category. It will always be a good rogue pick that can squeeze into the top 8. So
yeah, I think you nailed it. I don't have anything else to say of merit.
I think like Bug Snacks, unfortunately, I think is in that bubble tier.
Yeah,
because it's just not as good as
it just doesn't have a ceiling.
Yeah,
it just doesn't have a ceiling.
It's bug 5s. Like
yeah. Well, speaking of 5s, let's talk about actual 5s. Where do we feel like 5s is landing?
I think this is can top. Easily.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
It's almost like it has topped.
Well, okay. This is a good time to talk about the concept of 5s. Like, what is 5s? And I think 5s now, unfortunately, is actually just the number 5.
Sure.
Because there's another deck that we'll talk about later. And I think that just 5s is now evolved into good stuff turbo. We're no longer relying on the 5 stat line anymore. We're focused on good cards that always generate good value. So always relying on like a Nekruff or a Galaxy or a Vis every single turn just isn't going to cut it when you could play cards like the new Sorlet or like the Pig Package or new Champ Whale or Titanic Strike. Like there's a lot of different options that have good stat lines to pair along with a card like Zeus or Demeter that generate more value than the old 5s deck would. But obviously 5s is still good.
I'm gonna see if I can find it. I immediately found it actually. I'm gonna DM this to you.
Oh no.
So you can put this in the video. I just would like to bring back this. When was this? When did I make this? September 2024.
Oh my god,
the 5s
is this
alignment
the
chart.
5s alignment chart? Let's go.
This is the 5s alignment. This is Daybreak right before we went into Moonrise format. I think that arguably good stuff is 5s at its core. And that is because 5 is just something that is well costed.
Yeah,
that is all that it
mindset.
is fundamentally.
It's a mindset.
5 is a mindset. 5 is a mindset. And I think that arguably good stuff and 5s are synonymous here. However, in the true sense of 5s, back to base set 5s, which was literally the number 5, nothing else. I agree. Like it just is not doing enough to be able to be a will top. But slop decks might be some of the best thing you can take to a tournament right now.
Yeah.
I'd argue that basically every deck in some capacity, unless it's a game plan deck, is just a slop deck.
They're so consistent.
Just get a little sloppy. Get a little sloppy, you get a little toppy. That's how it works.
All right, let's talk about another one of the big bads in the room, and I think that's Fire Artifact.
Yup.
This has been a deck that at the last premiere got 30% top cut not top cut, 30% top 32 representation. This was the most represented deck at top tables. This is obviously a will top deck. Obviously, I think it's performed to be maybe the best deck of the format because it's just getting better and better. I know I got second place with a different version of Fire Artifact with like the solar stuff. There's a bunch of different versions you can play, one with even like the Lycavoid package. It's just really solid. Obviously has the cost of playing some bricks with the artifacts, but like they're not really bricks if you're playing the deck in a certain way. Caleb, I know this is a deck that you absolutely adore.
I was so happy that you were playing Fire Solar because in the Elestriad, I got to top 4 playing basically what you played, but before all of the good Fire Artifact stuff came out.
Yep.
Like I was playing Fire Solar Artifact, no Volcaries, no New Galaxy, just playing Cybermaul and praying. And it's a good deck. Like it is a really, really solid deck. And so it was really cool that you were able to do well with it because it validated a little bit in my soul of a lot of deck building time I put in for that Elestriad, only to get shit talked a couple of times for some of the deck building decisions I made.
No, dude, that deck was horrifying. Like I went into that match that you beat my ass knowing I was going to lose. Like I knew there was absolutely no shot.
It was a good deck. I'm just glad that you proved all the haters wrong. This deck is crazy. I love Solar Fire. It's such a cool deck. You absolutely cooked with this shit. You also did it in you did it the night before the event, right?
Like 30
minutes.
minutes.
Play Solar Fire.
Zero testing whatsoever. It's like, yeah, this looks good.
This is proof that Josh is just the greatest to ever do it. No one's done it like him.
No, shout out to the other people that also say they could just top with a box of donuts. I'm telling you, that deck was good. I don't have to tell you. Like,
I'm telling you, the box of donuts went crazy.
Cybermaul haters, like they can't win. They can't win. I've topped with Cybermaul every time I've played it. Like,
amen, brother, amen. Look, I gotta go. I've somewhere in these stacks of cards everywhere. I've got both of my Stellar Golden Fleeces sleeved still. They need to go back in the deck right now.
That's what I'm saying. Cybermaul stonks through the roof. Believe in the camel.
I got a reverse
or
Stellar
the ram
Cybermaul,
or whatever he is. I don't know.
Yeah, what the fuck is Cybermaul?
What the fuck even is a Cybermaul?
What the fuck is a Cybermaul? I'm saying. You know what else I'm saying, though? Speaking of Fire Solar, Draco Ray Heal. If you sleeve this, I am going to request you to never play the game of Elestrals again.
I think as soon as I spoiled fruited a Draco Ray on stream at the PNM, everybody stopped playing this deck.
Yep, as they should, because this deck's not good. And that's bar, dude. That's fucking bar. Like, it's cool in concept. The issue is that you lose to a sided silver bullet that will always be in side decks because there are just so many cards that naturally say heal, do something good, and so you just catch strays. If spoiled fruit did not exist, you didn't have to. This deck would be probably very, very solid.
Yeah.
However, you lose the game in a lot of cases on the spot.
Yeah, even like more fire decks, and this is kind of where I wanted to go after the fire artifact. Is like, what happened to Fire Nexus?
Yeah.
Forge is just not cutting it anymore. Like, I'm so sorry, Rummikul.
Yeah.
Yep. And
I was never a fan of Rummikul. I don't like him. Don't like how he looks.
It's crazy how this version of the deck is just so much worse than anything that the artifact deck can do. So if you're willingly choosing to not play Volk, you're just playing a worse deck.
Even before Volcaries came out, the best Fire Nexus variants, in my opinion, were just Fartifact without Volcaries because it had not released yet.
Yeah.
Like that, if you're not playing modern Firestorm Fire Nexus, which is Fartifact, you're literally behind.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Pull up the tweet. If you're not playing Volcaries, you're behind.
And it's crazy too. Like, I still think that Fire Nexus without Volk would bubble.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I still think that it's
just like
good.
Really solid card.
Yeah, like that's crazy to think. Oh my god, how far we've come from base set where fire was just the worst element to like fire being the best.
It's true. It's true. Shout out to Firestorm doing what it says in the name, fire. I'm sorry. I know you've got a line of thought here. I gotta derail it. What the fuck is Inforax Fax?
Does no one know about Inforax facts? I don't understand.
What the fuck? What is that? What are the facts?
I'm gonna have to like call Skyhawk to put in this video so he can like list off all the Inforax facts. Like this is a Skyhawk thing. Skyhawk
What
loves
facts does
Inforax.
Inforax
He has a
have?
list of all the things that Inforax can do and calls them the Inforax facts.
Yeah, let's call Skyhawk right now. Hey Skyhawk.
Hey, Skyhawk.
What are the facts?
What are the Inforax facts?
Hey Skyhawk, what happens, say I have a Majesty with 4 water and a solar under it. My opponent...
Siberian explodes. Watch the other tier list, folks.
That was a really good bit. I love that. I was watching the video, Siberian exploded. That was really fun. I laughed. I didn't know they could do that. That's a really cool skill.
Nah, but unfortunately, in Fortnite's facts, I think we'll go into the local legend, regardless of the reverse stellars that magically get pulled out of the wrong Shattered Stars packs. Can't wait for that Shattered Stars season. Shout out to Swole. Now, Inforax is really, really cool. I just don't think that it is nearly good enough. Wind is the deck that wants to play this the most, and they don't have the capability of getting into a Fortnite consistently to do anything with the card.
Yeah.
And I think
notably,
the pigs are just better. Like, the pigs are just better.
It's true. Box of Donuts is just better. Notably, to talk about like Inforax and local legend, top 8 player, Fortifact player, Johnny, from the first Firestorm premiere, he actually's played in Fortnite at my locals. He's played,
really?
I believe it was a wind burn version.
That's cool. That
played some fire stuff to then also have in Fortnite as a win condition. It wasn't a bad deck. It just was like, I think that it's not focused enough into one or the other. And unfortunately, you can't focus in Fortnite because, like you said, the best way to do it is wind, and wind just doesn't do it.
Yeah. There's like a lot of other decks that like have an Ascension that just doesn't work for them. Ankle Surge is like a great example of this, where like this is even worse. Right, like Never Sleeve. It is crazy to me that a card has been printed that has like an Ascension effect with like Ankle Shock, and then it ascends into something that you can't use yet because it ascended in the battle phase. And like this is a deck that has to play Alter. It has to play Bloom to some extent. So now we're playing really bad cards in order to facilitate a card that doesn't even plus you anything because you discard the amount of cards that you draw on the next turn. So,
which
like,
as an effect is like kind of cool, but like
there's no use case for it yet. Like there might be a time that like Ankle Surge, like deep drawing into your deck is worth it, but we have no reason to do that at the moment.
What are you discarding? Cedar Soar?
Yeah! Ectoplasm? Yeah!
Is a trigger.
Yeah, no, it very, very bad. Very bad. But on the topic of Cedar Soar, though, Centarbor. Centarbor, my goat. Oh, my God.
Can top.
I think that this is unfortunately Bubble.
Okay, yeah, I think Bubble is probably right.
I think, like, if a really good player took Centarbor, they could top with it, but they would really struggle, and they'd get in at, like, 7th or 8th place off of really good tiebreakers. There's just not a lot to do with Centarbor at the moment. It didn't get anything. This is still, like, the Paleoth deck, but, and I haven't seen anybody do this yet, Paleoth walls Lycavoid, and no one has been doing it yet. You like crash the Paleoth into a Werepup, boom, you got a 6 defender with Cedar Soar, ascend into Centarbor, GG's. It's over. It's over. It's that simple.
It's just that simple. It's just that simple. Ignore Fortifact exists.
Yeah, we're not worried about that. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
There are just a lot of ways to be popping shit, and you know who be popping? They put bats.
Yeah.
That was a really good segue to talk about a deck you should never play.
Never sleep. Cool. Next, let's just fire off a bunch.
15s, because it's like the same concept basically.
Yeah, 15s, local legend.
This one actually does something.
Yeah, like to just to explain what this deck is. This is a Sansely deck where you play Poseidon Nexus to any guy that you have on the field, and then boom, it's a Pent Terror. Boom, it's a Centarbor. Boom, it's like whatever 3-drop you want. It's very cool, very fun, very ignorant. Just not particularly good, especially with how much like Kinleo's running around. Next, What we got?
Electronite Nexus. We're talking about 2-drops that don't do anything.
Yeah.
What the fuck is a Thunder Lunar?
Local legend.
That is not real. You came up with that. You invented that. That's not a real card. Go next.
Okay, cool. Cerebrum Lockout. No.
What the fuck is a Cerebrum?
For everybody that doesn't know what Cerebrum does, because no one knows what Cerebrum does, basically your opponent cannot set cards. So you hurricane them, you go Cerebrum, they can't play any back row. Card sucks.
That sounds so good.
Next
Why are we
one.
not playing this?
What we got? Gigaflora Burn. Bring back Tritaya.
Next, Ivory Hand Rip.
Yeah. This is probably like local legend.
It's a local legend.
Yeah, it's
Water
it's
Reanimator
fine.
is just a good deck here.
We love elephants. They're fun. We like them.
It's true. Cactibrum. Don't sleeve that up.
Don't sleep this shit.
What the fuck's Counter Fairy?
Counter Fairy is like Nova Core. Is Yu-Gi-Oh reference, or like every time that like
I understand the Yu-Gi-Oh reference, but I do not see how it connects here.
Well, like every single time that you play a counter ring, you draw a card.
Oh,
It's
I
Bountiful
see.
Artemis.
I see. Please don't sleeve this deck.
Yeah, this thing's really bad. Burning Woods, also a deck that you should never sleeve. This is referencing new Flamemoth. Very, very bad deck. Should not play. Trying to think if there's anything immediately here that we should add into the never sleeve pile.
Honestly, I think there's a lot of stuff that has merit.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like local legends that are here at the bottom or here. So
we should smash out some local legends then.
Absolutely. Let's do
Artemis Box is perfect. Brontowisp is perfect.
Yeah, Artemis Box, local legend, Brontowisp, local legend. We can even throw Duplock into there. Duplock,
yeah.
Another Yu-Gi-Oh reference. I'm sorry, I keep making Yu-Gi-Oh problems. But basically, it's just you play a bunch of the Elestrals that say that they can't be attacked, or like only the Celestial can be attacked. So you play Harpy and you play Fungide, and follow the Wisps, so that you establish a bunch of locks so that they can never attack you. And then you have a bunch of different options you can do to close out the game, like Armadon Burn, where you just like swap back and forth, or you play like Brontowisp to pop cards. There's a bunch of cool things you can do. The problem is that like with Suppression being a big deal, or like again Kinleo being able to pop those cards, loses to Earthquake, you have to establish like 3 or 4 of them together to like save yourself.
Then you can try and do your win con.
Yeah, it's really bad, but it's fun, and I think it would do well at a locals. Speaking of Armadon,
so would Armadon Burn.
Yeah, Armadon Burn, same kind of thing. Don't fall for the Armadon Gambit. Do not Eddy an Armadon. You will burn for 8. What else we got? Dracodoodle Loop, also a deck that I think would be a local legend. Very fun. We talked about this in our Firestorm Set Championship deck tier list. This is really fun. Gets to play all of the cockatoodles and gets to cast a bunch of Dracodoodles. Again, the problem is that this deck is super expensive.
Yeah, I think you can go ahead and toss Parachne Burn into local legend as well. It's just like a very fun deck. If we saw spiders, you could also throw spiders in there.
It's way down the list. We're getting there.
We'll get there eventually. Are we have enough space? I think we're about to edge the bottom out. We won't.
We'll figure it out. We have not planned this far. There might be some scrolling.
119 decks. That's a lot of decks.
Yeah.
Imperawatt.
Local legend. Okay, yep, and there goes one of the... Yep.
We're in the danger zone.
We're getting in the danger zone. Okay, so Imperawatt, probably local legend, just because of how good some of the new Frost cards are, and obviously Thunder's good. Imperawatt, I think, is a pretty decent card. Gets to play Paleoth. We have a video on the channel, actually, of a really solid Imperawatt deck that if you wanted to try out, you could modify a little bit with like the new Brumalinks to make this card even better. Maybe we do another Imperawatt profile, an updated one. We'll see.
We should do like a rapid fire video where we talk about like 5 different decks.
Yeah.
That are all like fun decks to take the locals, but not things that would require a dedicated profile.
Yeah. All right. I do have to scroll down a little bit. So what else we got on this first row? Blazerus.
Let's talk about some more 3-drops.
Yeah.
Because Chronodile. And also Blazerus OTK, which is technically a 3-drop deck.
Yeah, technically. Let's start with Chronodile.
That card's honestly, I think that this is a bubble Toucan top. I'm gonna
really?
throw it out there. I played this End of Moonrise. It was insane. I see this as a bubbling deck.
I will trust you on that. I just haven't played this deck enough to have a good opinion.
when I played it again, I played End of Moonrise, but it was like the weird format where we had the fire artifact stuff already. This deck felt incredible, and we have seen some Solar Nexus stuff do like bubble already, and this is just a Solar Nexus variant. This is not a like dedicated Chronodile. This is the game plan is you go Exaltus, search Nomadile, ascend Nomadile effect for Chronodile, and in this one combo that just requires Exaltus and a bank, you have a Chronodile with 6 spirits on it. And then if you are playing Apollo and other good solar stuff, that makes it even more insulated.
Interesting. I haven't thought of doing like a solar variant of the deck because it just screams water.
So that was the thing is, this is something that Daimax was playing at the end of Daybreak, and I took it a more water direction because I played heal cards in it. And that was what made it feel even better in my opinion, is instead of playing a lot of the beatdowny stuff, it was just like, I will get to Chronodile and I'll say Sluggle. I'm just gonna heal all the long game plan stuff, all my counter runes, and I'm gonna have an untargetable guy that pops something every turn, and I just can win the game from here with the new Exaltus potentially, with some of the new water stuff that's been doing really, really well. I think that you could have a really cool merging of a bunch of these different ideas for Chronodile into one that results in this really, really solid game plan deck. I think this is very similar in power level to like Caprofume, where if you can get to this game plan, it is very, very strong. It generates a lot of advantage, and it's very hard to deal with. I think that this absolutely could bubble, but it is about figuring out the right deck list, I think, for the format.
See, the thing in my eyes that I think is worse for Chronodile than it ever has been is the amount of non-targeting removal that we now have in Firestorm. So, like, you could just randomly match up into the Spidisect player and just cry, right? Or
See,
like
that's fair.
Or
that's
like
fair.
or Heliolith, or like even like the Den Turbo stuff. Like they get rid of all the other cards that you had all those spirits on, and then all of a sudden your Chronodile's is sitting duck to whatever else. That's why I'm like a little skeptical, but like obviously I'm gonna trust you, like you're the Chronodile player. But
I do think that like in those specific matchups, you can very quickly tell, like, all right, do I need to cast Chronodile with it having all the spirits? Do I need to distribute them? I think Heliolith is the only thing that is a real concern for this deck, because if you see Spidisect, you just say, okay, I'm going to play a low to the ground way. This deck doesn't need Chronodile. It is just the payoff that wins you the game.
yeah,
But there's a lot of other aspects around it that make it really good. That's why I think the new solar stuff could be a really big boon to this. Playing new Plucky, just being able to have a fucker that is huge, like that's sick. That I think could do a lot for this deck, because it was really lacking in solid beaters. You had to go out of element to get to some good beater.
Yeah, let's keep talking about 3-drops. We said we were going to talk about Blazerus OTK. This is a deck that I unfortunately think can top.
Yeah, it probably will. It'll probably be Ren again.
Yeah,
Ren from Orlando has also been labbing this deck.
No one's playing it. It's wild.
It's scary.
I don't know why
people
people aren't playing it either.
I think they don't understand just how crazy Hurricane is, and this deck can just get to a OTK very quickly.
Yep.
I think the concept of an OTK in Elestrals is just not in people's minds. The instant someone starts tearing it up with this deck, though, people will learn very quickly that you can die out of nowhere in Elestrals.
Yeah. I think the other issue, though, is that, like, Blazerus in particular, I think thrives in best of 1, not best of 3.
Yes.
And that will always be the biggest bane of this deck's existence. In Clash, on the best of 1 ladder, this deck's gonna be horrifying. It's gonna take over.
I believe that. And I think that's where just getting the right list for Blazers would be big too. You can find a really solid side out strategy that goes from Blazers game 1 to like Fire Artifact game 2 and 3.
Smoke screen between the two.
Yeah, that would be a really, really big aspect to make your opponent miss side, make them play incorrectly into your deck, and you can make them fight ghosts thinking they're playing a different deck every game.
It'd be really cool.
Yeah, I've been there.
Try it.
That was me at Dallas. I fought 4 decks across 1 round.
Other 3-drop stuff. We got Flammomoth. This is a deck that I think can bubble.
Maybe.
What
does this deck have though?
New Nimbug is crazy. This deck got a lot of good wind cards to make it worth playing. Between like the new pig stuff, new Nimbug. New Nimbug now means that Aeolus, well, New Nimbug means that getting to Flamemoth is a 2-card combo. And that's all you need. And it is just, I think it's a little less expensive than getting to Majursa. So instead of getting multiple pops, you get a negate.
Sure, and that's very strong.
I think just like the Wind toolbox in general has grown enough that Flamemoth could bubble, especially under like a good pilot. I want to say that it's no longer a local legend. It's in the bubble category. Obviously, it's not going to top, but you could easily get like a 5-2, 4-3 record with this deck.
I believe that, honestly. I could see that. Shit, I gotta go pick up some Nimbug.
Right? More 3-drops. Fulgorix. Dedicated Fulgorix deck.
I don't think so.
I
don't think so.
Which is crazy because Lunar aggro is still really good. But
yeah, Fulgorix is just kind of poopy, unfortunately.
I feel like Fulgorix actually still probably should be local legend because of how good Nobby and Lycavoid are. It's not like
that's fair, but
it's not Fulgorix's fault.
Fulgorix.
But like, you still have to consider the other cards that are in the deck. But like, if
you're right.
If you're trying to turbo out Fulgorix, local legend ass
I believe
deck.
it.
Yeah,
I can see it. I've seen people get fucking washed by Dan on Fulgorix. So
right?
I can see it. While you're thinking about Lunar stuff, let's talk about Lunar Nexus, because I think that we'll probably have to end up talking about Solar Nexus too, because I think these are both two sides of the same coin. Sun and moon, light and dark, solar lunar. I mean, this is just Ferrogeist Turbo, basically, right? There isn't really a better payoff for the deck currently, and it already has a top. Like, it got a massive boon, and we gotta slowly get up there.
I would say can top. This is definitely not a will top deck.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It topped the very first one, has not topped since, I believe. I mean, it is a scary deck. Oh, no. It has 2 tops now. No, that was the first top.
Yeah, this is the first one.
I was looking at the wrong tournament.
This is definitely the first one.
Yes, it was just the first one. Yeah, it was just the first one.
I guess we'll also talk ethereal deck. This is kind of like the Solar Nexus deck, where it just abuses Exaltus to search whatever you want, whether it be Champion Whale, Celestio, more Exaltuses. There's just a bunch of stuff that you can do with the ethereal pile. I think this is a bubble deck, unfortunately, at the moment. It probably could top if someone has a good run or sees Argo a ton. But I'm still inclined to think that this is a bubble deck, and Daimax got super lucky.
Shots fired!
But I think that this is still a really strong option. I don't think it'll consistently top enough that we can put this in the can top pile. I guess we can talk about like other solar stuff, right?
Yeah, speaking of Daimax and solar, let's talk about cows.
Yeah, cow pile.
Like, yeah.
Bubble.
That's probably bubble.
Yeah, I think that, again, this is just a Daimax being a really good player. You hand someone else this deck, it will not perform. 7-10 Solbelle can hurt you with triple liar. I've been on the receiving end of it. Otherwise, this deck does nothing. It doesn't do enough if you don't see multiple pluggies, hit multiple foretells off of your Apollo. It does require you to high roll a lot, and then also have the correct pieces to make sure that high roll mattered.
Yeah, I just don't foresee this doing a lot, unfortunately. This is a very cool deck, though, and I like the cows.
Yeah, it's really cool. Just Champion of Apollo deck. It's neat. And then we also have a couple other solar options. We have Foretell Solar, which we were talking about earlier. I think that this is also a bubble deck. I've always been a huge fan of the Foretell version of Solar. Having access to counter runes whenever you need them is really important. Like finding those earthquakes early. They're just big. They're just big.
They get very big.
I don't know if you would play like Leo Bright anymore in Foretell Solar, but
probably not.
There's I think a lot of merit to doing the Foretell version. Probably about the same power level as Cowpile.
I can agree with that. They're both decks that you kind of just need to see the right cards in the right order. Otherwise, you can just end up kind of bricking like crazy.
We also have Cunning Offer.
I hate to be bricked up.
Yeah, right? Cunning Offer, I think that this is a bubble deck.
Really? Okay. Sell me on this one. Give me a Cunning Offer.
I don't know why this is so good, but this deck's like kind of fucked up.
Really?
It doesn't even necessarily have to be with the Aostale Glot. I can't even remember the name of the horses, but you don't have to play like the horse package with Cunning Offer. The crazy things that you can do with this though are like playing it with Arcolith So like your opponent has 1 Elestral in attack, you give them
Oh.
the second, and
Whoa!
and then you Arcolith them for like 7 or 8.
Ah!
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
you
like
just exploded my mind.
So, like, you can play this with Armadon. So you have an Armadon defense, switch it to attack, Cunning Offer, give it to them, and then Arcolith swing into it. So this deck gets, like, crazy burst damage for no reason. And if you do play with the horses, you can swarm the field, and just kill. It's crazy. Does it require, like, multiple 2-card combos? Yes, but you can also play, like, you can play Tornadian Package to make this more consistent. You can play this with Apollo to get the cards that you need all the time. There's a bunch of different variants for Cunning Offer. I know this is a deck that San and I have labbed a ton, and it is performed way better than expected.
That's kind of crazy. You've given me a Cunning Offer, and I accept.
It's cool. It's cool. It's dope. Big
I will
fan.
give you my kidneys. Thank you for the lollipop.
I guess one other deck that I helped build with San is Carry Off. We've been very passionate about Carry Off. This is also a deck that I think can bubble.
This is something you were talking about in the Firestorm set champ tier list. Walk me through this deck again.
So the whole concept of the Carry Off deck is that you play this as a Hermes pile. Because now you have additional copies of Carry On to crash with to trigger the Carry Off hand effect. So it's a lot easier to get into. You can also just use the Carry Ons for Ascension fodder to get into Carry Off also. So with these really, really large Elestrals that are running around, expending 2 Lunar, steal a Majersa is kind of crazy. And then you pair it with Trickery to pop the Elestral you stole and bring an Elestral back from your underworld. And that could even be like Champion Carry Off. And now you have an 8 paired along with a 5. So you get to play the Werepup Lycavoid package in this deck too. You play Fin Dust, so you can see your like Hermes, your Trickeries, and you can search Hurricane.
Jesus Christ.
This deck is really cool. It's a little inconsistent, which is why I think it's at like the bubble tier. I think this deck is fully capable of topping. Just it has to have a really good run. But it's really cool. There's no better dopamine hit than stealing a Calf-Mel, popping it with Trickery, and you get the heal.
And you keep their spirit.
And you reborn a guy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so fun. Probably like one of my favorite Firestorm decks. Legit.
I gotta try this deck out. This seems very ignorant.
Caleb, talk about a couple lists. I've been yapping for a bit.
You got a lot to think about. You got a lot to talk about. That's okay. I think that something that people are heavily sleeping on here is my goat Jablin.
Yeah.
Jablin is probably a local legend. It might be able to bubble. It's kind of like right at that precipice because it is kind of just a different way of approaching Draking. And it kind of wants to just sit there and not do a lot sometimes because you want to be changing position to generate card advantage. But it is just a really big guy. I think that this is something that you could take to locals. You could clean up super well. Maybe it could do well and have a good run and top. But it's kind of like, it's like right at that precipice for me between bubble and local legend.
See, like I actually think that this could bubble. Like all you have to do is to switch out the Draking for a Jablin. And it's like,
I mean, it is fundamentally the same deck. Maybe it really could bubble. Maybe I'm underplaying it actually.
So
but
we'll keep it in local legend. But I think that these two lists are so close to each other that
they are fundamentally the same list. I think actually.
Yeah, probably.
Say 1 card difference.
Maybe a little bit more than 1 card, but
I don't think it's very many. Something that I think though is a very local legend, but like something that you should really consider as a local deck. Mill. I've got a very good friend.
Yep.
At locals, Mike, who adores Mill. He actually, during this recording session, he has sent multiple messages about building Mill in Flash, trying to refine this list. Mill is just a cool thing in Elestrals that we don't see a lot, as we don't see a lot of alt win conditions. Mill is just a cool concept, and these cards are pretty strong, and we have more support for this in the form of Hestia Mill. There's the Salashade stuff with Hestia is also really strong. That's something that I've played and tested a good bit with Julian, who adores Salashade, Hestia Mill. I think this is like a deck that you can take to locals and do really, really well with. And it's not something that you could... Actually, hold on. I'm doing some independent research here. I believe that Mike may have actually almost bubbled with this. Yeah, okay. I found him. He did play mill. He went 3-4.
Okay.
3-4.
Local legend deck. Got it.
Local legend deck. Definitively local legend deck.
Yep.
I wasn't trying to argue for it being a bubble deck.
Yeah.
3-4 though with mill is not terrible.
Yeah.
He was in the upper half of that event.
Let's turbo through a bunch of these. Let's get a bunch out of the way. Hiboofin. We're putting this next to Cactus.
Please don't.
Don't do it.
Yeah, they deserve to be together.
Surely there's going to be a format that Sandstorm is good, but not yet. Gyadabolt, local legend, just because it has the Thunder Guards. I don't understand why. Okay, the PNM, I think, did permanent psychic damage to people when we put Gyadabolt in for the replacement copies of Zeus. That tournament happened before Zeus and Demeter were put back to 3, but we were playing under the new list. So everybody's just been playing Gyadabolt thinking that there's some secret tech when it's not there. It's not good. This was a Zeus replacement in the deck builder.
Funny. That's so funny. Wow.
Oh my god. Like I don't get it. Cracking Zone Lock. No. Never sleeve.
Please don't.
Yeah. What else we got?
Please don't.
Glide.
Lycavoid hand rip.
Local legend.
Lycavoid hand rip. Yeah.
There's been someone
first row.
Someone's been grinding this in the Elestrals Discord recently, and they've been taking some names. It's been
I believe in it.
Kind of nuts.
I believe in it. Lycavoid's gross.
Yeah. I think this thing's been consistently a 13 for them, like a 13 attacker. It's been crazy.
Yep.
Still local legend.
It gets huge.
Infinite value deck. Shout out to Trish. Never sleeve this. Don't do it.
No. It's not real. It's not real.
Go watch the Infinite Value video on the Caster's Corner channel. Lunar Phase. How are you feeling about this one? It's still probably local legend, right? Like pure.
It's probably
like,
local legend. I think that if you're really feeling it, you could play a weird Lunar Phase Winjin Chrysor deck.
Yeah.
You could have just a bajillion names you can hit off of a Winjin to get to Tornadian. And there's something wacky there you could probably do. Yeah, this is a local legend ass deck.
Yeah, this was, I think, much more well positioned in Moonrise than Firestorm. I would say that this is like a bubble to top deck before. Earthbox.
Did top it up.
Earthbox. Bubble. Probably
100%. I think Earth slept on.
Frost.
Never sleeve.
Fruit
never sleeve.
I think that
I'm sorry, words.
I think that this is up to local legend because we got Jotaya back.
Jotaya is so bad. It is an unplayable card.
I understand that it's bad. Look, no one's contesting that the new Jotaya is awful. Like it gives you a reason to play like Golden Apple and stuff, which like you kind of had to play anyway for Fruit. Like I think that at least it still gets to play Earth cards. I'm trying to make words not upset with us, okay?
Oh yeah. Actually,
like,
you can bump this to bubble.
Actually, I think we can put it will top. This will top.
Yes.
I think
this is where, before we finish the video, we have to scramble it so people are like, why does the tier list look like that at the end of the video?
No, I think that Fruit could probably be in local legend just because it got Jotaya back. It's definitely way better than these. Like, I look at the Never Sleeve decks and I'm like, yeah, Fruit would beat those.
Except for Gigaflor Burn. That deck's actually good.
That's what I'm saying. New Jotaya definitely helped it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Frost Nexus. You were eager to talk about that.
Yeah, Frost Nexus. This is
a
weird one, I think. I think that this is a bubble deck. It did top the first Firestorm premiere. I have mixed feelings about that deck in particular.
It was whack. I'll just say it. It was a whack deck.
Yeah.
It was very strange.
I think it could have been a lot better.
Yes.
Which means that it probably could top.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's very strange. It's very strange.
I think it definitively can top. However, I think that the performance that was seen with it in the first event was a lot of people not knowing how to play into the deck.
Exactly.
Than it was actually the strength of the deck. We watched this on feature, and there were multiple times where it's like, I feel like the person that was playing as the Frost player was intentionally making the wrong decisions. Just like, what's going on? Like, you are in a game-winning position. You've thrown it out of nowhere, from what I remember. I just think that people saw some of these cards and had no idea how to deal with them. And now that Frost is a known quantity generally, and people are citing more stadiums, Chivalry isn't something you can play really, at least not Old One, because Old One after Game 1 is not as viable because there's more stadiums out there. I do think that OG Brummelinx is a very strong card still, and is worth considering. But I think that this is too much of a known quantity after the first event to be like, it is going to top, or it even can top, because I just think it's not as strong as a lot of the other decks that we see in the topping section.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can even put like Frost 5s. We can just go ahead and talk about this one too. This is also like a can top. Put this alongside the other like 5s deck. The only variant is that like this is playing like a much larger Frost package and can also play Brummelinx alongside things. Really solid deck, kind of scary. You can also see like Hurricane in this deck too, which kind of goes nuts. I think this is something that like over time could end up being the will top section.
Cryo Rhino, baby.
True. Cryo Rhino I think is a will top. Just people don't play it. Where is it? There we go.
It did top, in fact.
Yeah.
It did top. Trevor was on a list that he and I cooked together, and that deck was crazy.
Legit, if Trevor wins that top 4 match, I lose finals. There's no way I could beat that. Like, there's absolutely no way. It just was it was a very poor series of mulligans from him. Like, he just did not draw well outside of, I think, exactly game 2, and he just wasn't able to recover. Crazy that we have like a bunch of Frost up in the will top, can top category.
Frost is good. Frost and Fire. We've done it.
It's insane.
You should talk about your favorite Frost deck.
Oh yeah, where is it? More Frost.
Second row.
Bubble. It's just not. I'm honestly really close to putting it in local legend. It got so much worse.
It is kind of at that edge. I think that the strength of like Scorpion form could just kind of keep it there though as a bubble.
Yeah.
Like that is just such a good card. And fundamentally, Morfrost is an engine in other decks, but as a dedicated deck, it just doesn't have enough.
Yeah.
It does benefit from the fact that people aren't on Spec Terrace a whole lot, though.
True. And, like, Brummelinx does help the deck, especially with, like, Terror form. So, like, you're able to stall out the game a lot more. The problem is that Elestrals in general are much larger, so that the decrease or, like, the debuff from Terror doesn't matter as much anymore, which sucks. Like, you have to have, like, a 2-Spirit Terror with Boreas up to, like, do anything.
There's a deck here that I see that I think that we should talk a little bit about. You're looking at it right now, too.
Oh, Terrastar?
The fuck? What the fuck is this FTK? Explain it to me.
What do you mean? It's an FTK. Just no one's playing it. It's, you Nexus, like, 20 times and you win the game. It's an FTK. It's the best deck, Jerry.
All right, cool. Let's move on. Suppression Burn. What the fuck is that?
This is the Toxiri Lycavoid deck with Pandolence Champ.
Okay.
So you're trying to suppress as many cards as possible to burn constantly. So like if you have Pandolence, you protect it for a turn and then do like the Wear Pup shenanigans. Like you can burn for like 2 to 3. It has like a lot of like moving pieces together that need to work. I think that this is like a local legend deck.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I think that's a pretty solid spot for it.
But it's really hard to like make work. But it gets to play all the good Lunar cards, so it's a good deck.
We should let's rip through a couple of
Speaking of
here.
suppression decks, Night Venom, terrible.
So sad. I think Night Venom's so cool.
We need titled Dense Fog for this deck to be
so
good.
bad. Give me a tiled Dense Fog that you can do something when you discard it. Yeah, like that would be awesome.
There are so many decks that need like a titled version of a rune to be crazy.
Yep.
Like I think of the what is it? The Bronaglow deck. The second we get more thunderstorms, that goes crazy.
Yup.
That
would be
the tsunami
just having
deck.
more access.
Like even we got new tsunami stuff, so then like we got the Poseidon's champ.
The Javalantis.
The Javalantis. Yeah. So like there are a few cards that like as soon as they get a titled version of their rune are gonna pop off. What else? We got
Position Control.
I think that's just like fine.
It's like an okay deck. That was something that was it's second row.
Yeah, there we go.
You're like right on it. Yeah.
I think that this is something that could bubble.
Yeah, I believe in that.
It's just a good stuff deck that's just not as good as 5s.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of, there was also like the little guys deck that topped Dallas.
Threes.
Yeah, threes. I think those two in my mind are very similar in power level, where like they could top, they can likely bubble. They're just not as good as the other existing styles of deck.
Guess we can also talk about crabs in that same
Yeah,
boat.
let's get some crabs.
I think that this is also like a bubble deck, mainly because the crabs have a decent matchup into Lycavoid specifically, which make them okay. I think like Mustation in particular is probably pretty decent, especially with like New Whale and like the other water support that we got. So like crabs or like being like the 6s deck is probably fine. But like again, it's probably in the same power level as like position control, where like it does the same thing, but like worse than the other decks trying to accomplish the same goal.
I think there's a lot of that, unfortunately. A lot of just doing things but worse.
Like compared to Good Stuff Turbo, like this is a deck that will top. Sorry, I have to scroll so far. Like this is this is like one of the best decks. This is what we alluded to earlier with like the pig package, the Titanic Strikes, the Visses, the rabbits. Like it's just every single good card that you could play in any element. Slap them all together, and you've got a functioning strategy.
Yeah, for sure. That is the best version of a lot of these. Like Lunar Aggro, I don't even see that as a real deck at this point. Like who's playing Nabi?
Right. But it's crazy too, because like this is still a bubble deck. Like it's still really
it is a good deck. It could still bubble, but it is just not as good as playing Good Stuff.
Yeah, it's just not the same. Even like previous decks that were very strong, like the Heal Stall deck. Like I think that this is a deck that can bubble or like heal control, whatever you want to call it. Like there's just no real reason to play this deck right now. Even if you're going to like the Calf version, it just gets outpaced significantly by like this top row is horrifying for heal.
Yeah, I think that sort of fundamentally the way that this format works is there's sort of a bar that you have to be able to cross in order to contend in the first place. And I think what we see in the Will Top is that bar is getting large Elestrals to board quickly, or having a way to get your Elestrals to a high stat value, and then generally also going wide. Blizzix can go wide and hit high stat values. Draking can go wide and hit high stat values. It also can thin through the deck really easily. Den Turbo gets out not only high stat, but also multiple pops. Fartifact has pops inherently. It has just good value, and it can go wide over time because you're able to protect those Elestrals. Rhinosec just absolutely blows out its opponent out of nowhere, even harder than Blizzix, just saying, here's 12 8s. And then Good Stuff is just low to the ground, can play really good cards. And it, as well as Draking, as well as Fartifact in some cases, and Den Turbo, play the Werepup Lycavoid stuff. And inherently, those are all things that sort of gatekeep every other deck in the format. If you can't beat Lycavoid, if you can't beat Hurricane push you really hard, you just can't really contend, and that's sort of the issue that I see outside of the like can top section.
It's nuts. It's nuts. All these decks are just, they're so good compared to anything that's below them in the Bubble, Local Legend, or the Never Sleep.
Yeah, there's a large difference between Bubble and can top, honestly.
Yeah. Let's speed through a few other ones. We got Leo Lock. Yeah. This is a deck from base set that got a ton of support. With the Fire Artifact cards, with Hephaestus being able to search Trident of Poseidon to establish the lock. And then you can even play like Plucky if you wanted to get Poseidon to like do like the full lock. I think that this deck is unironically like Local Legend. This was unplayable before. But it got like a bunch of tools to be able to search out the combo pieces that it needs to do a full rune lock. It's really cool. I like it. Guard on control. I can't believe I'm putting this in Bubble. I can't believe I'm putting this in Bubble. It bubbled the last event.
It did?
It went like 5-2 or 4-3. I think it was Stellar Christoph.
Oh my god, of course. If anyone can do it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm pretty sure it was 5-2 or 4-3, but like this was close to bubbling, or it did bubble. So like I kind of have to put it here. The first person ever to sleeve Guardon of all time bubbles with it.
Yoda got bubbled with Guardon. In the deck.
Really? Okay, so two people have played Guardon and they both bubbled with it. I kind of have to put it in the bubble tier. I don't believe in this deck, but I have to. Like,
Yeah, I don't see the other Gardon player. I think that if Kristoff got close, it was not quite top 32.
Yeah,
but Yoda
they
did.
went 4-3.
I gotcha.
So, but like this is a deck that
I
can
guess.
bubble then, and we'll put it in bubble. Otherwise, I'd be putting this in local legend,
yeah.
but
Interesting deck.
right. Champion of Zeus. Is this a bubble deck or a can top?
Mm-hmm. It's probably a bubble deck. It just doesn't have the sort of consistency necessary for a can top, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Even with something like Zeus's Call, it just doesn't get there enough. You can just have hands where you don't do anything. There aren't enough good Champion of Zeus Elestrals as well. So playing like the Voltempest line just kind of doesn't work because you have like exactly 6 playable Champion of Zeuses. The rest are like, well,
Really
if I have
bad.
to, I guess I'll play them. And like, you don't really want to be in that spot when you're picking a deck for a tournament.
The second that Champion of Zeus gets like individually good Elestrals like Titanic Strike, I think that this deck is viable.
Yes, I agree.
But because all of them rely on seeing Zeus, not great at the moment until we get like a dedicated Zeus searcher. Other starter deck bosses, Majesty Turbo. You're the Majesty expert
Honestly,
here. Is this a bubble deck or a can top? Bubble?
I think it's right at the fringe. Actually, it like might be a can top deck, but it takes the right player in the right list probably.
Sure, and we just haven't seen it. A lot of people just
we just
playing
haven't seen
this deck. Like
a lot of people just
out
don't want
principle.
to, which I understand.
Right?
Like it's just, I think a lot of people fear playing this deck because it'll make your opponent think less of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I will be the first one to top with Majesty.
Other water decks, we got Lockagon. I think this is a never sleeve.
That's sad.
This
Julian's
is-
gonna kill you for this one.
I'm sorry. Hey, you can put a Lockagon in your side deck. It's not a Lockagon deck. Krakatuga burn. I think this is a bubble. Any competent, every single Krakatuga player that I've seen that's like competent bubbles with this deck.
Interesting.
I don't know why. I can't play this deck to save my life. But every single time that a Krakatuga player shows up, they do well. I think Win the Scent, our goat.
Yes, our goat, his return.
Showed up with base set Krakatuga in like 8 packs. It was like the water starter and 8 packs of base set. And he went 4-3.
That's crazy.
Like,
I mean, he is just the GOAT.
That's what I'm
believe
saying.
it.
Like, I don't know what it is about this deck. It just does so well every time it's played. And into a fire meta. I don't get it.
Hey, you know, we take those. Shout out to the first deck I ever topped with.
True. Oh my, I completely
gotta
forgot
pick it
about
back
that.
up.
Yo, shout out
Yeah,
to the first
yeah.
Gauntlet video.
The first Gauntlet. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's probably like the best burn deck you could play, honestly. At the moment, is Krakatuga.
Yeah, 100%. Is the most consistent.
Yeah, I mean, like other burn decks, you got Cryoscorch. This is a local legend ass deck. If you have Cryoscorch,
Oh
you're doing the
yeah!
Cryolink
Shout out
stuff.
to Julian losing on feature at the Atlanta Cards HQ event in January. That was really funny.
Shout out to mulliganing 5 times just to start playing the game. We also got Nixamera. This is a deck that I think can top. It just hasn't found the deck yet.
Yeah,
I'm a huge Nixamera believer.
I'm not a huge Nixamera believer because like I think you'd be better off just playing Frost 5s at that point. I think people need to lean harder into Nixamera or just play Frost 5s. The
Yeah.
lists I've been seeing are like non-committal, and
Yep.
it results in just decks that are worse versions of Frost 5s instead of being a true Nixamera deck. I think that's where the struggle is.
The version of Nyx that I'm playing right now is Frost, but it like plays like the Brumalink stuff. It plays Moralith. It plays the Nixameras. Like you could do like a Werepup version of this deck too. There's a bunch of different versions you can experiment with. So like I think that this is still a deck that can top. Just people haven't been playing particularly good lists of it in tournament. The solar version's also based, but I don't think that.
Yes, I've played versus the solar version. It's very cool.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like the version yet either, but that also has like a lot of promise.
Yeah, it's at very least very cool.
Yeah. Photosynthesis, the bow deck, bubble, right?
Yep.
This didn't really get anything too much.
Nothing more to say there, honestly.
Bo could still probably win a tournament with it, but
oh, absolutely, 100%.
But this is definitely a bubble deck.
Yeah, she's the only one that could do it.
Monarchs, the all lith deck, or like the no stone, search a bunch of big assholes. Where are you putting this? Is this a local legend
maybe
or
bubble?
Like bubble?
It could like maybe bubble. It's probably more local legend than bubble, but like it could probably bubble with the right player.
Probably
it's like right at the
top
fringe.
of local legend. Cool deck, very cool deck. Okay, let's talk about a couple interesting ones. Pent Terror. Have you seen the stats on this deck recently?
I think I've heard something about it.
Okay,
I think I've heard a little birdie about it.
At the last premiere, this deck was the second most represented deck in top 32.
Mm-hmm.
It only had one convert to top 8, which means that there were a bunch at the bubble that could have topped and just didn't.
Yep.
The last round of Swiss, I played against Pent Terror. They were undefeated. This deck is
crazy,
horrifying, and I think that Pent is potentially the fire artifact killer. Because this has such a good matchup into the Argo decks, because it just doesn't care, and it plays Hurricane.
Yeah.
And then Pent also beats Blizz. This is maybe like supposed to be in the can top tier, but it has such a good matchup into the rest of this top row that it is in the will top category. It's wild, and it gets to play all the pigs too. Like we'll put the
it's
pigs
very good.
up
It's very
here
good. I've been playing against it at locals a lot, and it's very solid.
Yeah. We'll even put the pigs up here. Like the pigs pure deck is just worse Pent Terror.
Yeah, it is, and it's crazy that these are horrifying decks to play into.
I would have never thought that Pent would be the second most represented deck in a top cut.
Hey, we finally got our blue eyes.
Right? Finally. We got Pharaohgeist. I guess this like kind of goes along with like the Lunar Nexus.
The Lunar Nexus? Yeah.
This is like kind of hand in hand with the two. One's playing Kamalis. This is like you play Werepup into like turbo this out instead of just Kamalis search it. But I think they're on the same kind of playing field. And like Moose is kind of up there too. Probably like Bubble. Shout out to Brewlock. Always like
unfortunately Moose is just worse than playing Pharaohgeist, I think.
Unfortunately,
it doesn't win the game on the spot,
and you have to play Artemis.
And
like
you gotta play bad cards.
You gotta play bad cards, so it's just worse than the deck that doesn't play the bad cards.
I'd rather play good cards.
Pick your poison. What else we got?
Let's talk about Scrap. I love that deck. And you basically topped an event with it. So
boom.
Yeah, there it is.
Cypher Mall haters, where you
at?
at?
A variant of artifact. That's it.
Deck's crazy. What else we got?
Tornadian. I think that's another really strong deck. I don't think it's been seeing representation, but it very much is one that could be topping if people were playing it more. It is still a very scary deck.
Yeah. Do you think
and
this
it does
is
really well
top?
into a lot of the metagame. Yeah, I think it can top.
It's really strange to like kind of put some of these decks as like their own decks, because like I know the Pigs deck like also plays Tornadian. Like you can kind of put these two hand in hand.
They are kind of just the same deck.
Yeah, but like there's also like
building it right.
There's a Tornadian deck that Swole brought that was really cool. It was like a Monsoon of Eurus deck where like you're looking to trigger Whale and Windjin as many times as possible with like the reenchant effect from Monsoon. So like that's kind of like what I'm envisioning with like the Tornadian deck specifically is the Monsoon variant. But obviously that's a deck that can top. It was really close to doing so.
Yeah, I've played versus a Pig Tornadian deck at locals a couple times, and it's strong. Can we talk about Thunder Nexus? Because that's something I've been playing at locals recently, and that deck is very good. It's very, very good. Second row in the middle.
Oh, yeah, I was looking for Sparkin. I'm like, where is he?
Where the fuck's Sparkin?
This got, like, top 4 at the last premiere. Okay, maybe you can enlighten me. I still don't get it.
Thunder cards are just good. I don't think it's a will top. I think it's a can top. I think that if people start figuring out better decks to be playing and they start refining their decks more, maybe it'll fall out of favor. But generally, like it is just I think it's a can top like solidly.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't say it's a will top. I think that it is a very strong deck, and people are sleeping on just how good Thunder still is. Like Zeus is still a ridiculous card. Playing just removal, you play Boombat, you play PTA, you play Shield of Achilles. have a lot that just answers what your opponent might be doing. And I'm gonna be honest, Spark its removal. Taking a card out of the hand, even if it's random, only looking at 2, only on normal cast, it's still a fucking ridiculous card.
Earthquake for the hand.
It can also still trigger Astrabbit a second time. I have Spark It Nexus to Astrabbit more times than I care to admit in the past week, and it felt incredible every single time. Like, I think that this deck is still very, very good. Like, if you're playing a low to the ground deck, this is one of your best options because it just has removal out the ass, and it feels phenomenal to play.
I guess let's just get the other Thunder variants out of the way. We got Sonic Core Thunder, the one that plays like foamy and stuff to try and establish a Jinzo. I think it's fine. Bubble.
It's okay.
People that play this do pretty consistently well, but they never break into like Top Cut. So,
yeah, it's just a fine thing.
Phosphocell.
Phosphocell did top recently.
Did it? I don't think it topped.
Maybe bubble. Sorry,
I think it bubbled. I think that
yes.
this is a bubble deck. People are starting to really figure out what this deck's goal is. I'm surprised that I haven't seen a whole lot of Solar Charged.
What? People are playing this deck and not playing Solar Charge? The card
so,
that has Phosphocell on it?
Yeah,
they're smoking crack?
They're not playing Solar Charge. They're playing Plucky has been the best support for this deck.
Okay.
They'll go Plucky, establish a 5, and then they'll go Larvacell, Nexus from the Liar.
What the?
And then that's how they'll trigger it.
I mean, that is a way of doing it, but like...
It's weird. It's weird.
I mean, I'm looking at... So Kryber was the one that bubbled with this. I'm looking at this list and like... We have a 1-of Thunderstorm and Titanostrike, and I feel like you just make those Solar Charged and like you go crazy.
I don't know. Like I said, I think that this is a deck that still has a lot of experimentation going on. I don't know why people have decided not to play Solar Charged, but obviously they have a good reason because they've been playing the deck a lot.
They know better than me. I've not played this deck at all.
Yeah, so from what I've heard from people, Plucky is the craziest card for Phosphocell, not Solar Charged. I think that might also have to do with Rise going to 1, because like you're not trying to turbo out 2 anymore.
Yeah, sure.
So,
I can see that.
Maybe that might be it. I guess like the last Thunder deck here is Scorpion Burn, local legend.
You're missing 2 Thunder decks.
They don't exist.
We got Imperial?
Except for Imperial. Reveal also local legend Aztec.
You also got Voltempest in there.
How could I forget Volt? How could I? Why do I want to put this in can top?
I think it can, honestly.
Just people
I think that a turbo version could top.
You do like Hermes
that would
Volt,
be gross.
Even like regular Volt.
Yep. If regular Thunder
so
Nexus can, you just toss in a Volt package, like it goes crazy.
Yeah. You can even like side this package in T-Nexus if you wanted.
Yeah. There's one other. There's a Race to the Top Thunder is in here as well. That's just Thunder Nexus. It's right in the middle of the.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Also, you say this is also just Thunder Nexus.
Yeah, I think that it is basically synonymous with Thunder Nexus.
Okay.
Like people that are playing Thunder Nexus are just playing Race to the Top. I don't
Jolton.
play it because I don't think it's a good card.
Yeah.
But it is something that's worth siding because you're siding the stadium anyway in most cases, or you're maining it.
I guess I was putting like Race to the Top Thunder because like this was just a previous Thunder variant, so I put it as a different deck. Okay, I guess that's all of them. Right, that's all the Thunder decks.
We finally have all the Thunder decks except for Ricerage.
We're almost done. We're almost done.
We're so close.
24.
We should turbo through some of these.
Okay, Wind Burn, local legend. Just shout out some. Just shout out some names.
Spiders.
Bubble.
Yep. Move on. Rock and Hard Place.
Local.
Boom. Supernova OTK.
Local. Even with new Bubble, it makes me so sad.
True. Spinosec.
This is a deck that I think can top.
I believe that. I do think that people just need to figure out Hermes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give me Frog.
Where do you want to put Frog? That's your boy.
Oh God.
Where are we putting them?
It's probably local legend. It might be able to bubble with the right list, but it's probably like a very solid
consistent
local legend
consistent local legend.
Yeah, it's a consistent legend there.
So sad.
Ruminous Mill.
Don't fucking sleep this thing.
Straight amok.
It's so bad. Phasmacore, same thing. Don't sleep this thing.
Yeah.
I don't care if Lycavoid package is in this deck. Don't play it.
What about straight amok? What do you think about that?
Oh, horrible deck.
Waspire.
Horrible. Rip the FTK.
Rice. Yeah, my bad. Rice Ridge Stall.
This is probably a local legend deck. Rice Ridge is annoying.
Yeah. How about Torch and Voltron?
Local legend. Just in case you don't know what Torch and Voltron is, you're putting up a ton of artifacts on Torchin and swinging every turn to like heal for like 6 to 8 per turn. Doesn't matter
massive.
how many necklaces are on this thing. You make them like an 11.
Yep. What about Solar Nexus?
Solar Nexus. This is, I guess, like the Lustragon deck.
Yeah.
That like can get to Celestio. I think this is fine. It's probably like local legend. Lustragon's a really good card.
This has bubbled, I'm pretty sure, hasn't it?
Has it?
I believe there was a like Solar Lustragon list that bubbled. I might be wrong.
I can't remember, I'll be honest. Like, this is probably along the same lines as Photosynthesis. The problem is I think that like Photosynthesis is a significantly better deck. That's why I
honestly think that they're kind of just similar enough, honestly. Like they're
I guess that's fair.
Just a couple cards off. But I do think that the Solar Nexus is probably worse.
Yeah, we'll put Solar Nexus at the bottom. It's like teetering between Bubble and local legend. Neandersloth Hand Rip. Don't sleeve this.
Do not.
Okay. The problem is it got support. This deck got support in Firestorm. It got the 5 Defender Titanostock at once. It's a wind card. Why is it a wind card?
So you can Nexus, I guess.
It's so upsetting. It's so
Aeolus
upsetting.
search Neandersloth.
Hey, all I'm saying is that a 13 attacker that rips 2 cards out of the hand can't possibly be bad, right? Surely.
Surely. Tell me about Patera Sail Heal.
This is a fun deck. I think this is local legend. This is a deck that directly benefits from Hermes going into Carrion to ascend into Terrasail Nexus, and then you get the Nemasail out of the deck. Problem is that just like the payoff isn't really there, but it's really cool. Like, this is the best that Terrasail has probably ever been or will be. So I like it a lot. You can also play this with Aeolus in the new Galaxy too, but that's just more expensive. Yeah.
So this is something you've talked about me separately. Wasp Ivy.
Up. This is a deck that can top. He's a believer. This deck's crazy. I've pilled a bunch of people on this in the Elestrals Discord. They've been playing it. I got cooked by my own deck, but the whole point of this is that this is a fire artifact deck now that plays Wasp Ivy, and you're searching out Poison Tunic, and you get to play it for free because of Volk. So all the expense that came from trying to do the Wasp Ivy combo in the first place is like gone. And then you still get to play Kinleo and Equilinx, like a scrap deck, because you're on the Earth package anyway. You're on Demeter. There's a lot of really cool things that this deck gets to do. I want to do a profile on this for the channel soon, to show this deck off. Unfortunately, I do think it's just worse than Fire Artifact, but there are some advantages. Like, Wasp Ivy plays really well into Lycavoid if you're able to get it out turn 1, like with the 2-card combo. Hephaestus searches all the cards that you need. PTA is like fine at the moment, where like in Moonrise it was horrible. There's a lot of reasons that Wasp, I think, can top if people start playing the deck. Problem is no one is on Wasp.
Someone will. Surely after this video, someone will be playing Wasp.
It will be me. It will be me. I will be playing Wasp. After Bears.
You gotta
after
play
Bears.
Bears. What the
After
fuck,
Bears.
John?
After Bears. After Bears. After Bears. After Bears.
I better see you playing Bears at the Atlanta event, or else. Come over the final stretch. We got 8 left.
8 left.
We've been talking for so long.
I know. Okay. We got this. We can get this done before 2 hours. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Let's get the water decks out of the way. Water box.
You're the water expert. Do all the waters.
Water box is like bubble. I feel like you can just be playing better water stuff probably.
Yeah. It's like 5s.
Yeah, just play 5s at that point. I think that Water Reanimator is something that once a solid list gets nailed down, it could bubble. It might be better than could bubble, who knows? But like, there just is not a good list for it at the time.
Local legend.
And so like, I feel like Water Reanimator is better than spiders. So
we'll put it above spiders.
It has to be local legend because it hasn't been proven at a premier level. But I see it as being a lot better than multiple decks in bubble currently because I think it has better tools.
Yeah, I think that's just up to like personal opinion then, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You believe.
Wexus, don't sleeve it. Waylance. It's a local deck. It's fun. I just don't see it doing well at premieres.
Cool. I think we got a couple bangers and then a couple bad decks left. So
yeah.
I don't think it's obvious which ones each of those are. So Hermes Pile. What do we think about Hermes Pile?
I think it's something that can do very, very well. It just it's gonna be one of those needs the right list type of thing.
Yeah, I agree. This is probably a bubble deck for sure. Shiveror. I think this deck's nuts.
Banger ass, baller ass deck. We talked about it earlier. This deck is sick as hell.
Yeah, I think this is a can top deck, not a will top.
Yeah.
But Bromolinx puts this deck over the top.
Yeah, this is the better version of Frost Nexus, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we got two stinkers at the end. Scavical Turbo. Don't sleep this up, but it's really fun.
Don't play that.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
And
When
then,
Nexus is a local legend ass list.
Yep.
Very fun. Local deck.
We did it.
All right, nap time.
That was every deck in Firestorm. All 119 decks. I'm going to give you one final scroll to look through it all and admire its beauty. Because as more sets release, we're going to do these again. And it's just going to get longer.
Please, no, please.
It's just going to keep getting longer. Oh my god.
Thanks everyone for watching. This was a blast to do.
This was fun.
Hopefully you got some nice insight into how we're feeling about the format at very least. If you are enjoying the format, let us know what you're playing, what you expect to do well in the upcoming tournaments. As always, if you're looking to pick up some product from the Elestrals shop, we have our affiliate link in the description. It helps us out a ton if you use that link when you pick up some product. We appreciate you all so much for that. And don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe, share this to your testing Discord so everyone can maul at how it's fucked up that we put cow pile in bubble instead of can top. I expect Daimax to be in my DMs with a pipe bomb after the release of this video.
If there's any decks that we somehow missed, comment below. There's no way we did, right? There's no way we did.
No, this is every deck.
This is every deck.
Missed anything.
This is every deck, right? Okay.
There's no way we could. How could we have missed something? This is every deck.
All right. Peace out, y'all. Bye. 2 hours of my life.
Oh my god.